While we all like to think we're nice, good people, sometimes not everybody sees it like that. Sometimes you just rub people up the wrong way, and unfortunately, sometimes those people are important people. Sometimes they're the Pope. Okay, they're not often the Pope, but sometimes it's the Pope, okay? And sometimes you're the Pope, and sometimes you're dead, and the Catholic Church is weird, okay? This is the true story of a bishop who, through no real fault of his own, pissed some people off. Now, usually when you cause a stir among people, it's forgotten pretty quickly, a month later, and nobody remembers, and you're all good again. But people were still arguing with this guy after he died. He wasn't even safe in death. Seriously, they dug up his grave and dressed him up. So how do you have a debate with a cadaver? Well, like I said, the Catholic Church is involved. It's complicated. Our tale brings us back to 9th century Italy, a time of great political instability. Our hero Formosus became the Bishop of Porto in 864 AD during the pontificate of Pope Nicholas I. He did missionary work in Bulgaria, and the people there loved him. They liked him so much they requested him as their bishop. Pope Nicholas forbade this because an appointment in Bulgaria would mean Formosus would have to leave Porto. You weren't allowed to leave your see to administer another. Enter Pope John VIII. There's been a lot of Pope Johns. I think there's been over 20. There's so many that the numbering of Pope Johns is somewhat confused. It doesn't follow a strict numerical order. There's a Wikipedia page just for Pope John numbering. At least one of them didn't exist. I don't know. It's complicated. Look, from now on, if I can't explain something, I'll just say Catholic Church, okay? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Yeah, this Pope John didn't like Formosus for whatever reason. So much so that Formosus actually fled Rome in fear of him. A few months later, Pope John held a synod in which he accused Formosus of corrupting the minds of the Bulgarians so that they wouldn't accept any other bishop but him. That he and his followers were trying to usurp the papacy from John, and that he had deserted his see in Porto, and yeah, I suppose the last one is fair enough. Formosus and his associates were excommunicated. Formosus's troubles ended when Pope John died in 882 AD. Jesus, he was waiting a long time. He quickly resumed his bishopric. He went back to being a bishop in Porto. However, in light of John's accusations against Formosus, some saw his sudden return as ambitious. In 891 AD, our boy Formosus was elected pope. Nice one. He crowned Lambert of Spoleto co-ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. Lambert's dad, Guy III, had earlier been crowned by Pope John. A year later, Formosus was panicked by the family's aggression and the expelling of the Byzantines from Benevento. While the family was out of Rome, he invited Arnulf of Carinthia to invade Italy and receive the imperial crown. Arnulf's invasion failed and Guy III died shortly after. In 895, Formosus renewed his invitation. This time Arnulf was successful and he was given the crown as Holy Roman Emperor. Their army leaves shortly after and Arnulf dies, followed by Formosus in 896. Formosus was then succeeded by Pope Boniface VI, and he died 2 weeks later. That's a convoluted string of events, thank you Catholic Church. So Lambert of Spoleto comes back to Rome and he's like, what the fuck? What happened? He gets together with the new Pope, Stephen VI, to convene the Cadaver Synod. This was to both reassert Lambert as the true ruler of the empire and to punish naughty Formosus. But Formosus was dead. Well, they dug him up and brought him before court for judgment. This was about a year after his death, so ew. The corpse was propped up on a throne and a deacon was appointed to answer for Formosus. Like, they actually asked him questions and stuff, which... alright. He was accused of transmigrating sees in violation of canon law, perjury, and serving as a bishop while actually a layman. Remember, he was excommunicated. The corpse was eventually found guilty, shocker, and was stripped of its papal vestments. Stephen then cut off the fingers Formosus had used in life for blessings and formally invalidated all his acts and ordinations, which ironically included the ordination of Stephen as a bishop. Formosus was buried in a graveyard for foreigners, but was eventually dug up again. Jesus, leave the poor man alone. His body was tied to weights and thrown into the Tiber River. In typical Catholic Church fashion, the tale gets more complicated. The Cadaver Synod turned public opinion against Stephen, and rumours circulated that Formosus's body had washed up and started performing miracles. Well, hey, I doubt it. A public uprising led to Stephen being deposed and thrown in prison, where he would later be strangled. In December 897, Christ, this is a long story, Pope Theodore II convened another synod that annulled the Cadaver Synod and rehabilitated Formosus something Catholic Church. A few years later, John IX, another Pope John, ordered the acta of the Cadaver Synod destroyed. However, a few years later, Pope Sergius II overturned these rulings and fuck this.